on this edition of Lifeguard.
I'm receiving a 911 call, water-related emergency.
The first thought was, oh my God, somebody's drowning.
Get this girl, get me out of here, get us back to the shore.
She was unconscious.
I was just dying to grab that board and go. Get me on scene, fast.
Plus, a death-defying fall from 100 feet up.
He went straight into the turbulent air, and this glider started to shudder. He went straight up, and it went down and out of sight.
The Lifeguards of Southern California protect over 400 miles of coastline.
It's just really us versus nature.
And nothing impacts their day like the weather.
As lifeguards, the weather dictates the type of day that you're going to have.
Shark sighting, clear the water.
I need to ski beach dock and other units.
On these beaches, lifeguards are the first responders.
1, 2, I got 3, 4.
When you get this many people coming to the beach, things are going to happen.
Hey, you all right, buddy? You there?
They are there to save you.
He told me to grab the buoy. He was literally right there.
They are there to lifeguard. At the northern end of San Diego rests a small strip of sand known as Tory Pines State Beach. Easily accessed by Coastal Route 1, this area is a popular spot for the local inlanders to escape the heat. Lifeguard supervisor Ed Vidraska has been working this beach for over 10 years.
We always monitor the weather because our visitation is highly predicated on the weather.
While the weather in Tory Pines is often predictable, its dangerous rip currents are not.
When the tide changes, we get rip currents. And on the dropping tide, the rip currents have a little bit more speed to them, a little bit more oomph, a little bit more power. When that happens, that creates a lot more of our rescues. We probably make about 90% of our rescues when the rip currents are happening, and we will certainly have some today. The water temperature's been very warm the last few days, so the public knows that, and the word kind of gets out, and we have a lot of people here. The tide is going to be dropping for the next several hours, and as it does that, it's going to create more rips for us.
Rip currents are created when large volumes of water rush across the uneven sand beds, creating channels of strong, fast-moving currents out to sea. These so-called flash rips often form in a matter of seconds and can swiftly drag swimmers away from the beach. This is Tower 2 at Tory Pines State Beach. On the tower today is lifeguard Bryant Davies.
Tower 2, Tory Pines, is a tower that has a lot of action. There's a lot of things that can happen. There's rip currents that pop up, so that kind of rescue is fairly common.
All our guards know very well about the Tower 2 rip. That's why we put a veteran lifeguard in this tower.
Today we have not big surf, but medium, so the rip currents are pulling.
Lifeguard Davies is scanning the waters off Tower 2 when he sees a young boy in trouble.
When I noticed the kid struggling on his way back in, I realized it was something I had to respond as quickly as possible to.
The victim is a 10-year-old boy who has been pulled out by the Tower 2 rip. He's a good swimmer, but can't escape the current pulling him out to sea.
Thought he could touch, but when I got out there, he realized he was a lot deeper than he actually was. He told me that he needed some assistance getting back in.
The boy has rolled onto his back and desperately tries to stay afloat. Lifeguard Davies can sense his exhaustion.
So I wrapped my buoy around him and pulled him in.
This was the fourth person that Bryant has pulled out of the rip this morning. Later that day, lifeguard and peace officer Micah Moore checks in with Tower 2.
Have you been pretty busy down here?
Yeah, it's been pretty crazy lately.
Moore is a 4-year veteran of the state park lifeguard system.
Of all the jobs I've had, this one, just helping people in the manner we do, is by far the most rewarding thing that I've done.
Micah knows Tower 2 all too well. On March 20th, 2010, Moore and lifeguard Catherine Graham closed their tower at 6 p.m. They are now a mile away back at headquarters. The beach is now unguarded, but the rip current in front of Tower 2 is working overtime.
I'm in Tory Pines State Reserve. There's a guy right here calling for help because his girlfriend is looking at the water. Okay, hold on the line, please. Hold on the line.
It's about a mile away to the shop. up at the top of the hill. Catherine was washing down the Jeep. I changed out of my reds and put on my clothes, and we hear a call come in.
Lifeguard dispatch 31 Sam, receiving a 911 call. Water-related emergency, Tory Pines.
I need my fins, there's a buoy in the car. Jumped in the car, changing out of my clothes, putting my red trunks back on.
2 young swimmers, Jessica and Troy Lee, have been sucked 50 yards offshore. This amateur video shows Jessica struggling in the current.
There's a person out there that no one can see. The other guy went under? Yes. Okay.
The calls we were getting from our dispatch that were 911 relays were that there were 2 victims, a male and a female. A male had gone out after the female. I expected to see 2 people out in front of Tower 2. That's where they were reporting it. By the time we get down to the hill, we could see someone out in the water. The sun was in our eyes. There was a lot of glare. So we could just see 2 dark objects in the middle of the rip. It wasn't until we got closer that we noticed that one of those was not a body, it was actually a bodyboard.
Catherine continues to scan the water for the second victim, while Micah grabs his fins and sprints after Jessica. On the shore, Catherine radios for immediate backup. San Diego dispatch is quick to respond.
Dispatch 31 Sam, swimmers in distress, Tory Pines, outside Tower 2.
The first thought that came over my mind was, oh my God, somebody's drowning. We knew we had to act fast.
Get one heading that way.
I knew it was going to be quite some distance. I remember looking down at the speedometer at one point, and the speed was faster than I've ever seen it.
From Black's Beach, San Diego Lifeguards Eric Kerr and Lance Mendoza initiate a Code 3 response.
And so when the call came through, we also responded. We're about 5.5 miles away. You're thinking, just get me on scene fast.
Micah paddles through 53-degree water with 3-foot waves crashing all around him.
I had a general idea of where she was. She was out towards the end of the rip. But the problem in the rip current, there's times where you're not able to see what's ahead of you. So a lot of that, I was trying to swim with my head up as much as I can. And every time, I was kind of at the crest of a wave, I'm looking to see if I could see where she was. I was able to keep an eye on the boogie board for most of it. I only remember seeing her one last time before I got to the boogie board. I don't remember seeing her again.
Just before Micah reaches her, Jessica succumbs to the elements and sinks from view.
I remember thinking, this is my last chance, I've got to find her. And a wave broke. Once that wave broke and I went under, I just determined, all right, I'm gonna be underwater till I find her.
In a desperate maneuver, Micah dives toward the bottom.
She's underwater in this direction somewhere. And so I just kind of had my eyes open. To me, it felt like a long time that I was under the water. I noticed a body and it was just going down, 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 down. I grabbed a hold of her under her armpits and then just kicked for the surface, popped up, and I was just trying to keep her airway open, signaled for help.
70 yards offshore, Micah treads water in the cold, pounding surf. Without a free arm to swim, the rip current pulls the 2 of them farther out to sea.
I was just praying to God, get this girl, get me out of here, get us back to the shore.
Lifeguard Catherine Graham is scanning the water for the other victim as San Diego Lifeguards Eric Kerr and Lance Mendoza pull up to the scene.
I was driving, so I just looked for the closest spot to where people were waving. I pulled in and just put the brakes on as fast as I can. Sergeant Kerr jumped off, grabbed the surfboard, and scurried down the rocks like a madman.
With secondary lifeguards now on scene, Catherine sprints into the water.
Catherine knew once she had all the resources in place that she could come and assist me.
Okay, I'm seeing a lifeguard going in there in the water right now.
Okay, good.
The range is about to go in the water too.
Great. And Francisco, we will have all kinds of resources there shortly, so you're helping quite a bit. Stay on the line.
Okay.
When I was paddling up to the victim, going as fast as I could. As I got closer, I could tell he had one of the victims on the surface.
I knew that at some point Catherine was going to get to me, But as soon as Eric paddled up on that board, I just remember thinking, this is, okay, awesome, we got to get this girl on this board.
I could tell that she was certainly unconscious, and I could see her airway was filled with vomit, seawater. Just gave her one strong ventilation, turned her on her side. All that air came back out and blew vomit, seawater out.
The victim is barely alive. With time running out, Eric Kerr paddles her toward the shoreline.
As I got about halfway to the beach, our jet ski, which was also responding, came on scene.
She was unconscious. She was lifeless. We knew that we had seconds to get her breathing again, get her to onto the beach to give her a heartbeat again.
I just told Captain, get her into shore as fast as you can. I'll stay out here and keep looking for this second person that I was told was out here.
With the drowned girl now on the beach, medics go to work trying to resuscitate her.
We got to the beach, and she was just a limp, unconscious person at the time.
As medics prepare to transport Jessica Ung, lifeguards head back out in search of Troy Lee.
We knew we had to get back in the water, that we needed to find him immediately.
Micah Moore is still frantically searching the 53-degree water.
Francisco, yeah, the last place that you saw the woman, I want you to etch that in your mind, and I want you to try to remember exactly the last place you saw her. You've already helped us save one person. Now we want to try to help her.
Circom 1258.
1258, Circom.
I'll be there in just a minute.
I was off duty that day, and I was called in late in the afternoon. I got a call from my supervisor telling me that there was a drowning that had just occurred. I got into my Jeep and I came down the hill. It was a very complicated situation when I arrived on scene because we had about 5 or 6 different witnesses, each one with a different story. So when I arrived on scene, I became the incident commander. I found 5 or 6 different witnesses, and I immediately tried to interview those people to try to get as much information as I could.
Lifeguard and peace officer Ed Vadroska determines the point last seen and initiates a full-scale sweep of the water.
We started a full-fledged Codex emergency where we try to saturate the water with as many divers as we possibly can to try to find the other victim.
As the search for Troy Lee continues, Jessica arrives at a local hospital. There she slips into a coma, and doctors do not expect her to survive the night. It's been over an hour since the 911 call, and still no sign of Troy Lee.
The sun had set, and with the waves and currents and the lack of light, operationally there wasn't much more that could be done.
Rescue operations have come to an end. The next morning, Vadroska leads the recovery efforts.
We put 60 divers in the water. In the next 2 days, covered an expansive area here, all the way down to the bluff edge down there, probably 3/4 of a mile of ocean, and we were unable to locate his body.
3 days after that tragic night, lifeguards receive an update on Jessica's condition. Miraculously, she defied all odds and came out of her coma. La Jolla Shores is a popular 1-mile stretch of San Diego that spans from La Jolla Cove all the way to the end of Black's Beach. At the top of Black's Beach is the Tory Pines glider port, one of the most popular destinations in the world for paragliding.
The gliders have been around for some 30 years now, and within the last 5 to 10 years, the advances have just made an amazing aircraft.
Paraglider pilots come here for one reason: the weather. Here, the steady onshore winds hit the nearly vertical cliffs. This creates an updraft of wind that keeps the paragliders in the air for hours at a time. But whenever people attempt to fly, there is danger. In May 2012, a 52-year-old woman was flying above Tory Pines when she lost control of her paraglider. Lifeguards responded quickly, but it was too late. She became the 3rd person to lose her life here in the last 20 years. No stranger to this type of emergency, 13-year veteran Sergeant Mike Cranston is on patrol when he hears a similar call. Longtime paraglider Bob Hammond witnessed the crash firsthand.
As soon as I saw him, I said to myself, what is he doing? He was launching from that flag right there, which is exactly where you don't want to be. The front of the glider folded like that, and he just kind of went down and out of sight. When I saw him go down, I figured it was pretty serious.
Sergeant Cranston arrives on scene and faces several challenges: finding the victim, determining his injuries, and then extricating him.
Dispatch, I'm just pulling into the glider port and we'll initiate glider port command.
The victim has fallen in an inaccessible section of the cliff. Ground and water units are deployed to see if they can spot his location.
We can't do verbal communications as easy as we want because the wind is quite noisy this high up on the cliffs.
So we actually launched the ski and we had the ski go down the beach to see if they could see anything.
A visual on him now. He's behind that ridge. He's got a blue helmet. He may be stuck or injured.
Although they found the victim, getting to him is no easy task.
He's some distance away from our rescuer down there who can see him. So we're going to put one of our guys over the edge on rope to go down and make contact.
Lifeguards begin rigging the main line while the rescuer loads an emergency trauma pack in case the paraglider needs immediate medical attention. Lifeguard Rob Eichelberger will be the rescuer lowered down the steep cliff's edge.
The cliffs at Black's Beach are sandstone, and they're constantly crumbling. We've had a couple of landslides in the last couple of years, so it's always something that's in the back of your head as a rescuer going over.
Lifeguard Eichelberger has descended over 200 feet. Lifeguards on the beach guide him to the victim.
Be right below you. Dispatch update, rescuers at the victim. Confirmation, non-injury. He's stuck where he is, and he is unable to go any further.
Because it's late in the day, we're very aware of the light that we're losing and the possibility that this could go into darkness.
Paul slowly. He's got some vertical, so nice and slow.
He's about 10 feet to the vertical.
Falling slowly.
The challenges of getting the victim back up the cliff are making sure that the victim has what we call 2 points of attachment, one in the safety line and one in the main line, and then just kind of guiding them up the cliff.
You doing all right, Ed?
Yeah.
Just stand by when we're seeing the wait for.
Tethered to the guards, the victim ascends the cliff face, carefully guided along the way. Anxious to get to level ground, he's not out of danger just yet.
Slowly.
Luckily, in this case, the person wasn't injured. An injury response on the side of a cliff is a lot more complicated. It involves a helicopter, us going over the edge with backboards and stretchers. We could tell he was walking, we just couldn't tell if there was any injuries we didn't know about.
Stop. Release slowly.
I don't want to say this was an easy cliff rescue because none of them are easy and they all have a high element of danger and risk. However, this one went about as straightforward as it could have gone. This is kind of what we train for.
4 feet.
Patients up top.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're okay.
No, I'm fine.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What do you say?
No problem.
I fly a little bit, all of a sudden it starts spinning. And I said, okay, that's it. I lose all control. Lifeguard with the help whenever this happens. If they're not there, maybe I climb and just slip and fall. I don't know.
It's been 2 years since Jessica Ung nearly drowned at Tory Pines State Beach.
Okay, I'm seeing the lifeguard going in there in the water right now. The engine's about to go in the water too.
Today, she returns to Tory Pines to meet with Ed Vadraska, the incident commander of that fateful rescue.
Have you gone into the ocean since the event?
I came a couple of times right after I got out of the hospital. Just kind of put my toes in the water. That's about it. I'm still a little afraid to go out there.
Right about here is actually where the whole event happened. Right now, the ocean is a lot safer than the day that you were here. And there was a big trough right on the inside here. And you actually got into that trough. And it was just a really bad place to swim, unfortunately. And you got in that rip current and then you started getting pulled out. You don't remember the lifeguard getting to you?
No. I remember it was a really warm day. It's really sunny, a really beautiful day. I went to the beach with my friend Troy. We had one boogie board. I had the first turn. I went out there. When the wave came, I was barely hanging on and it just ripped out of my hands. After struggling, I knew it was impossible for me to get the boogie board, so I just tried to stay up until someone could come get me.
The lifeguards were gone for the day, but her friend Troy Lee recognized the danger.
He saw that I was in trouble, so he was waving his arms, screaming for help.
Witness statements report that Troy Lee entered the water in an effort to save Jessica, but was swiftly pulled out by the rip current. He never reached his friend.
I couldn't get my whole head or my shoulders out of the water anymore. It was just my face. So the last thing I remember seeing was looking up to the sky, and that was all that I could see. I felt that I was going to die.
Thanks to an incredible collaborative effort between California State Beach Lifeguards and San Diego Lifeguards, Jessica was pulled from the water and brought to shore. She spent 3 days in a coma and miraculously survived.
The nurse and the doctor tell me then she maybe never come back from the coma. And that was terrible to see your daughter lay down there and almost shut me down.
It was a bittersweet rescue. 18-year-old Troy Lee lost his life trying to save Jessica. Several days were spent searching for him, but his body was never recovered.
I woke up in the hospital, and the first thing I thought about was him. I wanted him to know that I was okay. And I had no idea that he went in the water. I thought he was completely fine because the last thing I saw, he was on the shore.
Jessica has no memory of her drowning. Lifeguard Ed Vidroska was able to arrange a private meeting so she could thank her rescuers.
So grateful and thankful for Ed, Micah, and their whole entire crew. They're heroes.
On this edition of Lifeguard,
Mission Beach Rescue West, bumping up to Coast Green.
the rip current at Mission Beach puts lifeguard training to the test.
They're just scared beyond belief and they're in danger and they're trying as much as they can to help themselves, yet they can't.
And
further information was that she had taken a full bottle of prescription medication.
I'm with the husband, very concerned.
Full patrol at Dycroc area, return negative. There's no one out here.
plus,
Requesting paramedics for a 7-year-old male with a back injury from a fall.
If we don't do everything right, he may never walk again.
the lifeguards of Southern California protect over 400 miles of coastline,
It's just really us versus nature.
and nothing impacts their day like the weather.
As lifeguards, the weather dictates the type of day that you're going to have.
Shark sighting, clear the water. I need medics to ski beach dock and other units.
On these beaches, lifeguards are the first responders.
1, 2, 3, 4. When you get this many people coming to the beach, things are going to happen.
Hey, you all right, buddy? You there?
They are there to save you.
He told me to grab the buoy. He was literally right there.
They are there to lifeguard. This is Mission Beach, California. With over 2.5 million visitors per summer, it is one of America's busiest beaches.
The weather affects us every single day. It just kind of provides us with a theme and a tempo. So we know that when it's sunny and the water's warm and there's surf, we're going to be really busy. We know that when the wind comes and blows here, we're going to get a different type of rescue. So really, the weather plays a huge part in what we're going to actually be required to do for any day.
As the onshore breeze creates a large swell, a massive rip current has just opened up in front of Tower 13. From the main tower, San Diego lifeguard Ashley Marino observes the rip current starting to take shape.
The rip started pulling a little bit, and everyone that was on the edge from the south started to get pulled in. And then everyone that was on the edge at the north started to get pulled in as well.
Connor Robbins, one of 2 lifeguards staffing Tower 13 today, is first to respond.
I kind of saw things progressing quickly, so right then that was kind of a red flag.
Mission 13, second guard in.
Lifeguard Joe Gatos is the only guard left at Tower 13. He spots 2 young children struggling to stay afloat.
They're just scared beyond belief, and they're in danger, and they're trying as much as they can to help themselves, yet they can't. And they have that fear in their eye.
Joe reaches the first child, but the second is drifting away.
And he spins around and he just looks at me, and he's just climbing the ladder, as we call it, not really swimming very well at all.
Joe approaches the young boy just as he disappears underwater.
He'd gotten swept off his feet. What I would do, I just kind of spun around, put my arm around him, and the little cross-chest carry we call it, and I put my arm in his armpit and just start kicking him in.
The Tower 13 rip is just getting stronger, and more people are pulled into its grasp.
We had both of our Tower 13 guards in, and at that time, I requested our Utility 2 vehicle.
Utility 2, can you head to Tower 13? Jet 0, can I get you to head to Tower 13 as well?
Jet 0, copy. En route.
The last group were in their station, and they started passing by running 2 by 2. And maybe you could count 6 to 8 lifeguards.
Lifeguard Marcos Pimentel rushes to assist at Tower 13.
We got on scene. There was about already 4 guards in the water. So I went in, I got 2, brought them in, and I went back to got another one.
The situation continues to escalate. Normal rip current speeds range from 1 to 2 feet per second. This current is twice as strong, challenging even the most experienced swimmers.
I was trying to get over there as fast as I could, but the water kept pulling me back.
This is now a mass rescue. Lifeguard Lieutenant Nick Lerma arrives at Tower 13 and takes over as incident commander.
Big rip current, and all that water is moving this way. We got the caught right in the hole, they can't swim. The first thing that I want to do when I get on scene is organize our existing personnel.
With more than 10 lifeguards in the water, Lerma must make sure that the beaches to the north and south are still protected.
We had South Mission Beach move up. We had Pacific Beach move down just to make sure if something else happened, then we were ready for that.
And at that point, I think we had about 10 rescues. Then the rip current opened up more, and about 10 more people went into the hole.
Requesting a rescue boat. We're having lots of rescues at the moment.
Lifeguard Daryl Pollack arrives on Jet 2 to assist the tower guards.
As I was approaching the scene, I was thinking of all the different situations I could be presented with on scene, from somebody actively struggling for help to a person unconscious in the water.
Mission Beach Rescue West, can you bump it up to Code 3? We have almost all our guards in.
Copy that, Rescue West.
Rescue West, piloted by Rod Messenger, is quickly on scene.
When you're outside the situation, watching from a vessel, we might be able to point something out that they might miss.
With all resources in place, lifeguards can now work together to clear the water.
Started floating across. We didn't realize they were getting pulled out until the lifeguards came and got us.
Nearly 24 swimmers are pulled from the ocean.
Mission Beach Rescue West, looks like Jet 0 just made contact with the last 2.
We are clear at Tower 13.
Obviously, I'm nervous when anything like that goes down, but I also have to have faith in all the guards that are there, that they're going to carry out the rescue.
There is no way to simulate a mass rescue. You cannot train for that. All you can do is train them up to it and then hope that when the time comes, nobody misses a rescue.
There would have been drownings if these guys weren't there, and if they weren't vigilant. It takes, the right type of mentality, the right type of attention. It's a lot of talented people.
Meanwhile, 15 miles north at remote Black's Beach, with sheer dramatic cliffs towering over the sand, It's a popular destination for sightseers, hikers, and paragliders. Sergeant John Sandmeyer has been patrolling the coast of San Diego for over 20 years and knows the area well.
Blacks is sort of a location that's a wilderness within the urban area. And so it could be a refuge for people to go to get away from it all. We've got these steep 300-foot cliffs, and it offers a high-risk environment.
Sandmeyer is on a routine patrol when he gets an alarming call.
Hearing on North City West, 1145 threat at Blacks Beach. RP stating that the subject's threatening to walk into the water.
Copy. Then all units associated with this missing person call, let's take this to Lifeguard Dispatch 2.
Lifeguards know any suicide call on Blacks Beach is of high importance. Sandmeyer rushes down to the beach to meet Tory Pines State Beach Lifeguard Supervisor Ed Vadroska.
54-year-old female, 5'4".
Okay, by herself.
By herself. Somehow she said she was going to come to Blacks and drown herself. We'll check Sumner right now, and I'll talk to this group down here. There's UCSD divers, so we'll see if they saw anything.
We have a truck at the glider port, and we just came down here.
Okay, we have one of our officers too. He's checking Black Gold Road right now for that vehicle, and then he's going to shift over to Glider Port as well to see if they can find him there too.
If you want to go up top too.
Well, we were thinking of making a pass on the beach just to see in case he, trickled down on one of the back trails or something.
As state and city lifeguards refine their plan, more disturbing information is called in.
Further information was that she had contacted her husband, and she had taken a full bottle of prescription medication with alcohol. She was claiming that she was on the beach somewhere.
And 1145 is code for attempted suicide. Lifeguards must act quickly.
We get half a dozen suicide calls just in this park alone. The helicopters overhead here looks like they're involved in the search as well.
Meanwhile, Sergeant Sandmeyer is surveying the southern end of Blacks Beach.
Hey guys, we're on a lookout for a missing person, 54-year-old female that's heading down this direction. You can call 911 and let a dispatcher know that you want to talk to lifeguards. All right.
We're all kind of working together. We've got the area pretty well blanketed, and if she really is going to show up at the beach here attempting to drown herself, I think we're doing our due diligence to head her off and get her the help that she needs.
Full patrol at Dyke Rock area, return negative. There's no one out here.
A search of the beach and cliffs has been fruitless. Fortunately, the police department has located the husband, who is now with Sandmeyer.
We met with the city lifeguards, and they had the husband on scene, obviously very distraught, and the brother-in-law. So I started an interview with the husband, and we were trying to get a good assessment of the threat and if he really thought that she could actually commit suicide.
While Sandmeyer and Vadroska are with the husband, lifeguards from both San Diego and Tory Pines State Beach continue to search for any sign of the missing woman.
We've got a search on her phone right now.
Great.
And I'm continually calling it, so.
Yeah, just repeatedly.
Yeah.
2 hours have passed and still no sign of the woman. The husband fears the worst when a call comes through.
Stand by, sir. I'm with her husband right now. We're with contact with San Diego Police. We're all looking for her right now. So, okay. Okay, if you stay right there, we're gonna direct police your way.
Someone's with her. She's had something to drink. She's on a street corner somewhere in Ocean Beach, and the bystander picked up her phone and called.
The victim is barely conscious. Lifeguards have no idea how she ended up 16 miles south. They quickly contact Sergeant Gleason at Ocean Beach.
We have a medical aid at Abbott Cross Muir in Ocean Beach, and it's likely the victim from the earlier call at Blacks Beach.
Copy. I'll notify PD and I'll respond.
Sergeant Gleason and lifeguard Mike Gilmore quickly head to the scene to verify the call and the status of the missing woman.
So that's the suicide attempt gal from earlier?
I don't know. I don't think so.
No, we were told she was a fall.
A fall? This is a trip and fall injury with ETOH on board.
Stay firm. That was a threat of
1145 that she had self-initiated, and we were on
heightened alert and looking all over Tory Pines for this case.
I'm with the husband, very concerned.
The medics that showed up on scene weren't privy to the knowledge that she was a suicide attempt, but I was able to give them some information to help them in their care and treatment of the patient. They're in the loop now, and it sounds like they're going to take her to UCSD.
Copy that. That put a closure on our end. The husband had some satisfaction that he knew where she was. He could go meet her at the hospital, and basically it was a good ending to an unfortunate situation.
An hour south of Orange County, California, rests the town of La Jolla. This oceanfront village is a playground for both young and old. Its largest beach, La Jolla Shores, is a hotspot for kids looking to cool down.
It's a not so sunny Sunday morning here. We have some unusual weather patterns in this area that a lot of tourists are not quite used to. Because Southern California is very desertous, it's extremely hot inland, and the heat draws the ocean moisture. So while it can be blue skies and 100 degrees inland, the sun has not yet come out here because all this moisture in the air is being sucked inland.
Despite the marine layer and cooler temperature, La Jolla Shores is seeing a big crowd. Supervising the shores today is Lifeguard Sergeant Mike Cranston.
I'm a sergeant here for the Lifeguard service in San Diego. I've been working for the service for almost 14 years now. Originally, I'm from New Zealand, and I moved over here when I was about 20 years old with a backpack on, and I wanted to have an adventure and see the world. I came in here to Southern California and just fell in love with it. And then once I got hired as a lifeguard, it was my future was written for me.
So if you decide that you want to C-spine, then we can send him over with equipment.
From a young age, I was boogie boarding, surfing, swimming. I was getting in and out of rip currents before I even really knew what they were. And it just became second nature. Eric, it's going to be a lot of low-angle stuff before he gets to the ledge, so you're going to have to feed it out pretty good. Being around this environment was always just completely natural for me. It was pretty apparent to me within a few weeks of working that this is what I wanted to do, and I don't want to have to take my flip-flops off and go work in a regular job. So coming to work here it's not that different from how I grew up and how I've always lived.
The marine layer has refused to burn off, and the temperature is lower than normal. The cool air means less kids in the water and more kids in the park.
I had a walk-up lady that came up to the tower right here and reported to us that her child had fallen off of the jungle gym.
We arrived on scene and there was a child lying on his stomach, not really moving, and that's unusual for a child of that age not to be moving.
Dispatch from 31 Sam for a medical aid. Requesting paramedics for a 7-year-old male with a back pain, possible back injury from a fall at the playground.
He just had a lot of pain, and it was in his back, right up his spine.
How about when I touch it? Does it feel any better or does it still hurt?
Can you pull some ice?
It still hurts?
The child is lying on his stomach with his head to the side, and eventually we're going to have to right that and put him in a better position to care for the injury. If we don't do everything right, he may never walk again.
We want to get them immobilized as quickly as possible in the event that there was some sort of spinal injury.
We're gonna make sure you don't move around. So what I'm gonna do is I've got this plastic collar and I'm gonna put it on your neck so that you don't move your neck up and down.
He's very upset. He's in pain. It's an important thing to calm the child down.
Is it gonna hurt? Sure isn't. It's not gonna hurt at all. It's just gonna sit around you just like this. And that's what it's gonna look like.
We rolled him very carefully in a straight line.
Nice and gently.
We then decide to put the Miller board underneath, which provides a hard surface, and then we package the patient up so they can't move. It's almost like a splint that you would put on a broken arm, only it's something that we do for the back. When the paramedics arrive, we give them what's called the turnover. They then hook the patient up with their equipment and make sure the patient is stabilized, and then once they feel the patient's ready to be taken to the hospital, then we move the patient to their gurney.
He was loaded into the ambulance and they took him off to one of the local hospitals. Once there, the doctors will assess him, and with any luck, he will be walking out of there this evening and they'll be going home to enjoy the rest of their weekend.
On California's state beaches, the tower guards are always watching the water. But there's another group of lifeguards behind the scenes. These are the peace officers. They're a unique cross between a buoy-carrying lifeguard and a gun-carrying police officer. Peace officer Jeff David has been with Huntington State Beach for 10 years.
Today should be a pretty busy day for us.
42, 1098, 12.
It's a 390.
Lifeguard Greg Carter was manning Tower 13 when he saw something out of the ordinary.
Multiple park visitors came up to me and told me that there's a drunk girl in the water just washing around.
Jeff David and lifeguard Marianne Lugermo make first contact.
How come you're wobbling and running around in the surf line there?
Honestly, I'm trying to find my tent.
Your tent?
Well, like, you know, like, whatever it's called.
I got a call of a drunken public. Got here, there was a girl, female, rolling in the water. The number one danger is her drowning in the water. That was our first concern. The other one's just hurting herself or hurting somebody else.
Lifeguard Lugermo decides to administer a breathalyzer test.
Hold on to this until I say stop. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, go, go. Yeah. Woo! What did you drink before you got here? Because you blew a .25.
Whiskey.
How much whiskey did you have?
About 7 shots.
7 shots of whiskey.
It's a situation where if she was 18, we would just take her to jail and let her sober up. But when they're juveniles, they either have to go to the hospital because it's a medical issue, or we have to release them to their parents.
Jeff, I'm going to try to call the father.
The 17-year-old's father is located on the crowded beach and escorted to the scene.
Your daughter, Tiffany, right? Is in the back of my vehicle right now. Is a .25. This is the deal. We found your father. Now, if you keep cooperating, I'll release you to your father.
We hate to see people like that, to see them at their worst, kind of like that, but we do this for everyone's safety on the beach, including hers.
Located on the east end of Newport Beach's Balboa Peninsula is The Wedge. This world-famous boogie boarding and body surfing spot is known for producing waves in excess of 25 feet. Today, warm weather and perfect conditions at The Wedge have brought hundreds to ride the huge waves. However, like any precious natural resource, sometimes there's not enough to go around.
The Wedge being the spectacle that it is, it draws a huge observer crowd down here. And for the most part, people are wanting to have a nice day, watch the surf, and be excited. Occasionally, tempers run high, and people will get into it with each other.
Get out of here, bro! My way! What are you gonna do, bro? What are you gonna do?
I was on the tower, and initially I broke up the altercation when it just began. The two gentlemen had exited the water and were beginning to fight.
My way, bro! I just got down here.
Anytime at Wedge, when the surf gets 8 to 10 feet or larger, big egos come out, and when those egos collide into each other, we get fights on the beach and in the water. Both of them are smart enough to know that if they throw a punch at me, that I'm a peacekeeper and that they're going to go to jail for that. That's when it stopped, but then it started back up again on the back of the beach when I told them both to leave. After that small altercation was separated, the two gentlemen found each other on the back of the beach. One of them threw a punch which knocked the other guy to the ground, and he hit his head on a rock on the way down.
While lifeguard Joseph tends to the victim's bleeding head, lifeguard Bob Maripol arrives on scene and quickly radios for additional police support.
5323 requesting PD for surfer altercation behind the Wedge Tower.
When I drove up, there was a guy who was bleeding from his head. He already had a bandage from the tower guard. The tower guard was treating him.
I didn't even touch you, man. You did, homie. Yeah, you did.
My main concern at that point is to make sure there's no more fighting because we don't need anybody else getting hurt, make sure the lifeguards aren't involved.
Hey, officer, that's the guy that attacked me right there.
He had blood trickling down from the top right side of his head, down his face. His nose was bloody. He had blood coming out of his mouth and blood all over the front of his wetsuit.
With Newport Beach police now on scene, the two men involved in the altercation are separated and questioned.
And I didn't hit him, man. Other people hit him. I just was in between the things.
I don't know what happened. I was like, do something, bro. You want to, you're arguing all day. Do something, bro. I'm not scared of you. Yeah. Dude, like, socked me or did something right here. And I fell on the rocks or something.
People tend to get their adrenaline pumped up and then blood starts flowing and there's only so many waves that come through. and it's a very individualized sport. You can't share a wave.
Our primary concern down here is public safety. That's in the water, on the beach, and we do whatever we need to do to make sure that people stay safe.